Good evening, everybody. Tonight, what we want to do is we want to talk to you a little bit about what our actual plans are. Don't worry, it's not just going to be an episode full of waffle and talking and talking and talking. There's loads and loads of boat work in this episode. There's been a lot of kind of comments recently, quite good sort of comments about what are you actually doing, where are you going, what are your actual plans. So we just wanted to kind of demystify some of those questions. Previously on Sailing Melody. We are Andy, Melissa, Jack and Ollie. Hi. 4 years ago we bought a tiny boat which turned into a huge dream to give up land life, move onto a sailing yacht and sail full time, and maybe one day to sail all the way around the world. So with a tiny budget we got a bigger boat, and then an even bigger boat which we spent 3 years rebuilding for the three of us. But then Ollie came along, so we needed an even bigger boat, and for the past year and a half we've been working on Ocean Melody, and we've now achieved our dream of living aboard and have set off on our very slow adventure. In this week's episode we make preparations to move onwards to our next port and answer some of your questions.
A regular maintenance project on any marine diesel engine is the water impeller needs changing. So we've removed that this morning, a bit of a joint effort. I took the cover off and got it out a bit, and then Andy got it out a bit more. So he's gone to buy some spares. So we've got spares for the future, and we'll be fitting that this afternoon. This job, however, has definitely been made easier since Andy has put the lights in and insulated and put the silver stuff on in the engine bay and painted underneath the engine. Just made it so much easier to work down here. I'm actually in the cockpit locker side, but it's just made a huge difference just being able to turn the lights on and all the light reflecting off the silver thing. So great job, Andy. Education and socialisation for the kids. We get asked this a lot. What do we do about the kids' education and especially the social side? Now, Jack has been home educated for the last 2.5 years. We decided to take him out of school due to him really struggling with the noisy environment with his cochlear implants, and obviously we knew we were going to go travelling, so we thought we'd take him out early to get used to it before we moved on the boat, so it wasn't just a big change like leave school, move on a boat and leave. And Jack has thrived since we've taken him out of school. His maths, his English, his just interest for knowledge has sort of really increased. We follow the UK national curriculum loosely. We add other stuff that's interesting at the time, and Jack will be sitting IGCSEs when the time is ready. He's only 12 at the moment, but we'll gradually do them over the years. He does some online lessons, so he has about 5 hours a week, 5 to 6 hours a week, where he has a tutor, and they do Shakespeare, English classics, science, 2 different maths lessons, and he's also doing an arts award online, which is an equivalent to a GCSE. And then in the other times I fill in the gaps, and we do lots of learning just out and about, things that spark his interest. We learn about it. As for Ollie, obviously he's only 1 at the moment, and his learning is just learning about the world, and as he gets older obviously more education will be introduced. But since coming out of the school system we've seen a huge change in Jack. He's just happier, and he's not getting as many headaches like he was at school because he has cochlear implants, and the school is a noisy environment. And as I say, his thirst for knowledge has just grown. He just wants to know more and more and more, which I think is really cool because we can follow his interests as they change as he gets older, as they always do. You know, they want to do all different sorts of jobs, but he's sort of currently really focused on history. That's one of the things that he's really interested about, and marine architecture and things like that at the moment. Socialisation, whilst we've been in North Wales, has been great. There's some really good home education groups. There's a World Schooling Facebook page, so you can arrange meets in different ports and get to know lots of different people. Jack is also very good at socialising with adults. He enjoys adult company, especially because children find it hard to slow down and talk face to face, so Jack can lip read, whereas adults don't. So they find that a lot easier, and just it happens naturally when adults obviously make eye contact and talk, whereas children move on very quickly, and Jack struggles to keep up with conversation. However, his social skills are fantastic, and we have lots of clubs that we go to around here in North Wales, and I'm already on Facebook pages talking to other sailing families, other home education families about different ports that we're going to arrive in. Let this boat go past. We're going to move a lot in a minute. Yeah, so there's loads out there, and especially in the sailing community, there's Facebook pages where different families are in different anchorages at different times, and everyone just meets up and shares information, and kids get to meet up and share that with each other. He also has friends that we're leaving in North Wales that he's going to have regular video calls with, and he's sort of they've set up kind of clubs that they're going to meet and do book club and things like that as they travel.
Here is the old impeller from the water pump on the engine. Now what this does is it pumps seawater up through a heat exchanger to cool your engine. In a car you have a big radiator and air blows over the radiator, and the cool air cools the water in the radiator, and that pumps around the engine to keep your engine cool. And if you stop in traffic, an electric fan starts to blow cold air over the radiator. Boats don't generally work that way. There are some that do, but generally this is the way it works. You have a water pump that pulls seawater up, pumps water round through a heat exchanger through a series of pipes, and the cold water in one side of the copper pipes cools the water in the other side of the pipes in the heat exchanger, and then that keeps your engine cool. Now it's pretty standard practice to change these impellers fairly regularly. As you can see, that little piece of broken fin on here, just that pulled off when we were pulling the impeller out. I've been and bought 2 of these. I wanted to buy 3 because in my opinion one of something on a boat is none. 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is 2. But I couldn't afford 3 because they were £47 each. So I've bought 2. I've bought 1 to put in now and 1 as a spare. This is the water pump. I took the impeller out yesterday and I put the front plate back on. I'm just going to take the lid off. Okay. In the box you get a new impeller, and an O-ring for the cover, and a new set of little screws and some impeller lubricant. There we are, impeller's in, that's nice. I've got the cover back on and the lip seal, the O-ring back on. I'm going to open the stopcock, the through hull, and hopefully we won't see any water pouring through. So now I'm going to ask Melissa to start the engine, and I'm going to just watch for any drips or leaks from around the water pump. There's the old O-ring, there's the old impeller. So it's all been done, you know, by the book, I think. Again, not a marine engineer. If there's a better way of doing this, or you think I could have done it differently or should have done it differently, please let me know, because making no claims to be any sort of expert here. Right, would you start the engine please, Melissa?
Is the seacock open?
Seacock is open. Let me just double check. Yeah, the seacock is open. There's no water leaking out around the pump. I'm going to go and see if it's pumping water. Something else we often get asked about is our planned route. You know, how are you, what's the plan, where are you actually going? Well, it's very, very simple really. We're making our way south. Now we're going to Penarth Marina in South Wales because we want to have done the whole of the Welsh coastline. It's all a learning curve, isn't it? So we're heading to Penarth Marina. This is actually Milford Haven, which is already in South Wales, so a bit of a spoiler, but next week you'll see how we got here. So we're heading to Penarth Marina because we've heard that it's absolutely gorgeous, so we want to go there. After Penarth, we're going to make our way down around the coast of Cornwall, and we're going to go to Portland, I think, for a little while, and we're hoping to lift out again in Portland, because before we cross the channel to France or the Channel Islands, we want to give the underneath of the boat another really good going over before we cross the channel. After that, our plan is to head round to the Channel Islands, which we've got friends there. Then we want to head round Biscay. We're not planning to go across Biscay in a big hop. We might do, but I doubt it. We're planning to go in short hops again, and eventually make our way around to La Rochelle, then to A Coruña, then to Portugal, to Faro or Lagos somewhere, and stop there for a little while. We'd like to visit Morocco and Tangiers, and after that we're then going to make a decision whether to go into the Med and go to the Greek islands, which we probably will, before crossing the Atlantic. So there's a good likelihood we'll spend a year in the Greek islands or in the Med, and then we'll think about crossing the Atlantic and probably follow the way that Mothership did. If you haven't seen the channel Mothership Adrift, you really should check them out. So they went across to Suriname, and we're probably following their footsteps. And another part of our plan for that is to interview some other YouTube channels that have done what we're doing, and we'll introduce you to those YouTube channels. So channels like Ian on SV Blown Away, we're going to do an interview with him so that he can give us his input and his thoughts about proposed ideas that we could do. We might interview Mothership if we can get hold of them. So we're going to interview some other channels along the way over the next few weeks and share their ideas with you, sort of, and pick their brains a little bit. Yeah, pumping water beautifully. Now, this engine, every time I start the engine, it's a bit smoky, but it clears up after about a minute, 60 to 90 seconds, it's all gone. And then the engine runs phenomenally, fantastic, smooth as a nut. I'm going to ask my friend Chris, who is a marine diesel engineer. So I appreciate your remarks, comments and advice, but we're about 3 or 4 weeks ahead in videoing. So by the time you answer in the comments what the smoke is or is likely to be, I'm probably already likely to have asked Chris about it and be on it, but I might not. But have a look. Here is how it's pumping water, and here is the little bit of smoky stuff that we get for the first 90 seconds. If we start the engine from warm, it doesn't do it. It only does it if you start the engine from cold, and it only does it for a minute and a half. Right, let's go back in the cockpit locker, double check that there's nothing bizarre or nasty happening in there, and then we can start reloading all of the stuff that was in the cockpit locker back in there. There. Well, it's fine. All right. Yeah, it's pumping water great. We're just a few minutes later and there's still like a tiny little wisp of smoke. So I don't know what that is, but I'll talk to Chris, my mate, who's the marine diesel guy. And of course, as I say, welcome your input on this, although I may have already spoken to Chris before you get back to me on it. So, right, that's done. So now we've got a new tank, a new sender unit, brand new pipes, brand new filters, primary filter, secondary filter. The fuel system is all working completely. Can you pass me that bulb, Melissa? And as per people's suggestions, I bought one of these, which is a primer bulb, so that next time I have to bleed the system, I'm not going to bleed the system just to put that in. It's not worth, you know, bleeding the whole system down just to install one of these. But I bought one of those to go in line, because loads of people said, oh, why didn't you put one of those in? It's because I'd already done it by the time the comments came in. So I do listen. But that's going in next time I have to bleed the system down. So the fuel side of things is now bang on. Impeller side, brand spanking new impeller, and I've got a spare. And it's pumping water like a champ. So engine golden, engine room is golden. steering is golden, the rig is golden, everything's working, and we've now got a repaired keel. So bit by bit the boat is getting, you know, back into really good shape. We're not addressing necessarily specific comments in this video, but this is one specific comment that I just thought was really interesting, and I just wanted to read it out to you and then address it really. The comment says, "I'm not being funny, I myself have rebuilt and gone off cruising. It seems your priorities are a little misled and the emphasis on really boring stuff. Your mini refit was a little absurd. Not adjusting the fuel tanks while the boat was out of commission and you were not living on board seems to have been more appropriate. I think you've backed yourself into a corner. As regards your children, what's wrong with taking them offshore? My first real memories as a child was coming across the channel. I feel like your goals will be short-lived unless you change tack, bite the bullet and go for it. Not so long ago you were talking about water makers, etc., and now you're only doing minor short hauls of 20 to 50 miles. I'm starting to feel like as time goes on you really have no true intentions." Okay, so first of all, let's just look at that in order. Our priorities are misled. Well, our priorities are to do what we can do with the time and the money that we've got at the time and money that we've got it. Let me just clean that off the lens. So I'm fully aware that what would have been a great thing to do with this boat would have been haul out, go into a yard, put her in a cradle, gut the entire interior and do a back to bare bones rebuild. But we were never intending to do that. We don't have the money to do that, we don't want to do it that way. We want to work on the boat as we go. So our priorities are to do what we can, when we can, with the money we can and the skills that we can. In terms of our little refit, now we weren't intending to do a refit. Our friend got diagnosed with a terminal illness and they asked us to look after their house over winter. In fact, they asked us to look after their house for a couple of weeks. So when we first moved there, we thought, well, we're only going to be a couple of weeks. So we left the boat in the water, in the marina, and we were expecting to be in their house for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then be living back aboard. So in order to fix the diesel tank in the keel, as you've seen, that required a lift out. In fact, we didn't know that at the time. We didn't even know that we needed to lift out to fix the keel. So we couldn't have anticipated that. And I guess maybe if we had known that we were going to be house sitting for our friend who was ill for as long as we were, 3 or 4 months, we probably would have lifted out at Dickie's, put the boat in a cradle and done a whole lot more work below the waterline. But we didn't know that that was what was going to happen. We thought it was going to be 3-4 weeks house sitting and dog sitting back on the boat. So that's the first point. So what I thought I would do was, while we were on the house sitting job, was tackle a few jobs that I could do quickly. And so, for example, I took up all the floorboards. And if our friends had suddenly said, "Great, I'm better now, you can move back aboard your boat," I could throw the floorboards back down half finished and we could move back aboard. Okay, do you see my point? I could get halfway through the job and our friends could just say, "Right, I'm still very poorly, I'm out of hospital, the treatment's going well, I want to be in my home, could you please leave?" I could go, "Yeah, no problem, we'll get out of your house, we'll get back on our boat," and I could take my floorboards, my sole boards, and put them back down half finished, because their health and well-being is more important than my floorboards. What I didn't want to do was rip the whole boat apart, start taking engines out and ripping out diesel tanks and all that kind of stuff, when I didn't really know how long we were going to be house sitting. So that was the reason for the absurdity of the lift out. Maybe I should have made that more clear at the time. Okay, and the next thing is, so your mini refit was a little absurd. Not adjusting the fuel tanks while the boat was out of commission would have been more appropriate. It would have been great, but we just didn't know how long we were going to be on that project. Secondly, I think you've backed yourselves into a corner. Don't know what that means. As regards to your children, what's wrong with taking them offshore? What's wrong with taking them offshore? Absolutely nothing. I've got no issues taking the kids offshore, but we don't feel ready and we don't feel like the boat is ready. So we're doing coastal hops, and the other thing is, we don't want to do that. Offshore sailing is boring. right? We will be doing it. We will cross Biscay, we will cross the Atlantic, we will cross the Pacific, but wherever possible, we want to coastal hop, okay? We want to see anchorages like this. We want to be exploring the coastline. We want to see the wildlife and meet the people. We're not in this to rush. We're not in this. We could leave here tomorrow and sail straight to A Coruña. We could sail straight to Lagos, okay? We don't want to do it that way. We want to take our time, and if it takes us 6 months to get to the Med, so be it. If it takes us 2 years to get to the Med, so be it. We will still eventually make our way across the Atlantic and eventually make our way across the Pacific, but at no point have I ever said we're setting off from the UK to do a non-stop circumnavigation, or we're going to sail straight to the Caribbean. We're going to take a very, very, very slow jaunt around the world, right? So that's that one. Firstly, we don't feel ready. Secondly, we don't feel the boat is ready. Thirdly, we don't want to do it that way. The next one is whereas this person gives a personal reflection. My first real memories were coming across the English Channel in a huge storm on the day Ted Heath's Morning Cloud was crushed by the same waves. Oh, that's great. Good for you. I don't want to put my kids through that. I want to avoid that at all cost. Thank you very much. I'm very capable of sailing the boat in rough weather. I feel like, you know, I'm very nervous about it. At the minute, I feel like I wouldn't be happy to do it. If I had to do it, if Melissa and I had to handle the boat in those conditions, I think we'd be okay. But I don't want to. And it's like, you know, the inference here is, why don't you put your kids on the boat and just get them used to long passages straight away? Well, that's like saying, we've got a newborn baby, let's put them in the car and drive a 1,000-mile road trip with a newborn baby to get them used to being in the car. They'll get used to it over time. Don't need to do that. So my first real memory is coming across the English Channel in a huge storm, the day that Ted Heath's Morning Cloud was crushed by huge waves in the Channel. Okay, I get the feeling your goals will be short-lived unless you change tack and bite the bullet and go for it. Well, you can have that feeling if you like, that's fine. I get the feeling we'll just potter along the coast comfortably and happily and enjoy it until we don't enjoy it anymore. And the quicker you put your crew under stress and make them hate it and give them an experience which is horrible and wet and cold and frightening, the quicker your dreams will end. So not so long ago you were talking about water makers. Now you're talking about only doing short hauls of 20 to 50 miles. I don't get the connection. We want a water maker because we don't want to spend money filling up water in a marina. And we want to be living at anchor, as you know, we're on an anchorage at the minute. We don't want to be having to go into a marina to fill up. We want to be able to turn the water maker on and have water. That's got nothing to do with the length of passage, has it? No true intentions. All we intend to do is live on our boat and sail from place to place and eventually make our way as far as we can in little steps. That's exactly what we're trying to do. But our intention certainly isn't to head off into the big blue ocean just to create dramatic content for YouTube. If people are finding that our absurd refit is boring, well, go and watch another channel then. That's completely fine. You know, there's lots of other channels doing way more interesting stuff than us. I get that. But we are who we are. We're doing what we're doing, for right or for wrong. We're just enjoying our lives living on our boat. So that was the one comment that I wanted to just address directly. And I'm not, again, I may have sounded a bit heated in my responses, but I'm not. You know, I just found that comment really interesting, and it raised a lot of issues which I feel like some of you may have the similar questions.
I'm a little bit excited. There's been a delivery and I've waited like 3 months for this. It's slightly challenging because it's blowing a hoolie outside and we're all over the place.
It's really, really windy.
I mean, it says that it's only, well, the weather, we haven't looked on the Windex, but the weather forecast said that it's only 30 knots.
Gusts of 30.
It feels like gusts.
It's like steady 17, 18, gusts of 30, but it feels like more.
It does. So this is not a sail ride. But it is.
It's also
Almost.
not the Z version.
What?
I've sent you the wrong one.
You're joking.
That is not the Z.
Not what we ordered, but it's a sewing machine. It's a sewing machine that does straight stitch, but we ordered the one that does zigzag, and they haven't sent the right one.
Oh, or have they? No, that's straight only.
Straight only.
We specifically went to great lengths to find one that was zigzag. And they've sent us all the way from China with months and months of lead time. That's what happens if you don't buy the real thing.
My excitement's slightly dampened, but this is a Sailrite knockoff.
Copy. Sailrite knockoff.
Not a Sailrite. But I'll let you know what it's like. We can't afford a Sailrite, and it was
It was £200.
£200 plus
Plus 100 for delivery.
Yeah.
So it worked out at £300, which is about
in the UK they're £1,400 to buy in the UK.
So it's £1,000 less.
Yeah. Well, it may not be zigzag, but that's just gone through 7
layers of webbing.
Webbing with no issues at all. I mean, that's as much as you can fit under the foot.
7 layers of webbing. That's crazy.
Yeah, 7.
It's just really irritating that we went out of our way to order the zigzag version that would do zigzag stitches for doing sail work, and they've sent the straight stitch only version.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
obviously we're going to contact the seller.
Yeah.
It's just it says free returns, but obviously we've waited. Let's say
we've waited like 3 months for it.
This, and we have sewing projects to do. But yeah. It goes through 7 layers, so it's going to work perfectly. We don't need any zigzags on our cockpit enclosure.
No, not at all.
It's only purely for sail repairs that we need zigzags, really.
So we could just make do with this and then buy a Sailrite, a proper Sailrite
when we get to America.
Just to sort of fill people in. This, from what we can tell, the Sailrite machines and these machines are literally identical. Sailrite in America import these machines and then upgrade a version of it, and then upgrade several different components because there are issues with the components on these failing, because there is 1 or 2 parts of it that are particularly
but we
durable.
believe the parts that fail, as far as we are
you
aware,
can buy from Sailrite and fit them directly to this. So there are like 2 or 3 parts that will fail on this in a few months, and then you can order those specific parts from Sailrite, and they literally fit straight onto this machine.
Hopefully.
That's what we're led to believe. But if not, well, it was a £200 sewing machine, so
yeah, it was worth a shot. It's worth a shot, and it's
7 layers of webbing. That's mental.
Yeah. Lots of people are asking how we can contemplate taking 2 kids offshore in a boat that clearly isn't finished. No boat is finished. The structures of this boat are great. She's got a good hull, and yes, we had to do a repair to the keel, but it was minimal, and that's one of those things. Good hull, good rig, good sails, good engine. We've got fuel tanks, we've got water tanks, we've got a dinghy, we've got outboards, we've got everything that we need to be able to live aboard. Now, aesthetically, she needs some work inside, and obviously there's lots of things that we want to upgrade as we go. It's just like living in a house that needs renovating. The boat is safe and, a great ocean-going boat, and she just needs some love, and that's what we're doing as we go. And I am very confident in the boat. Andy is very confident in the boat, and it doesn't affect the kids at all. They're happy on the boat. It's all Ollie knows. He's got great space to move around in. He's got his toys. He's got his family with him all the time, and that's the most important thing. When Jack was little, the same age as Ollie, I was working 6 days a week to keep a roof over our heads. I was a single mum with a young child, and I was working my backside off, and I was never seeing my child. And the difference is now we're both at home with our kids, so they get more time with us, and we're in a smaller space, so there's less to maintain and look after. Yeah, so everything is here that we need on this boat. We've got all the time in the world with our kids, and that's the main thing for us. Our boat is safe and our kids have our full attention. A project that I've been wanting to do for a long time is putting the safety netting on the guardrails to just help keep the kids a bit safer on the boat.
Here's another one. Again, it's another comment which I'm replying to. It says, "Why did you write sinking? Question mark, question mark. Don't over dramatize." Okay, let's just very quickly talk about thumbnails and titles. Okay, if we release a video now with a picture of me sitting here on the foredeck, and it's the title of the video is called "We Sailed to Beaumaris," okay, all of our regular viewers will go, "Oh great, another video from Sailing Melody," and we'll get a decent amount of views, okay, because you lot already watch us, and we could call our video "I Fry Some Spam," and you'd still watch it because you like us, okay. So you're already in the shop, you're already browsing the produce. Okay, our thumbnails and videos are a shop window. Now when it comes to clickbait, let's talk about clickbait, and it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Using bait, right, is not a bad thing. Let me just be very clear. I have no objection to clickbait. I have objection to lying, right? So if I call a video Angelina Jolie sunbathes nude, and she's not sunbathing nude in our video, then that's an out and out lie. That content does not occur. If I take an aspect from the content and I make an attractive looking thumbnail that is catchy to the eye, and give the video a title which alludes to something in the episode perhaps, and has got a kind of an enticing episode, like, oh bloody hell, are they sinking? So long as it's not an out and out lie, I don't think it's clickbait. I call it legit bait. It's legitimately attracting a new audience. Now if you ran, oh wow, it's wonderful, if you ran a guitar shop, right, and you just had a completely drab shop window with just some beige carpet in the window, a few customers would wander in and they would find out how wonderful your guitar shop was, and they'd keep coming back. But if you want to attract new customers, you have to dress your shop window, and you even have to dress your shop window creatively and differently, and you have to make changes, and you have to shake things up, and you have to change things. And that's what YouTubers constantly face, is you've got to tread that fine line between making a title and a thumbnail which is legitimately interesting, not boring, and not lying. Okay, now I'm going to link a video here in the description at the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to put it in the description, and I want you to go and watch it. And it's called it's all to do with the concept of legit bait. Okay, it's completely legitimate if you're fishing to use bait, and of course we want our channel to grow. Of course we want our channel to be honest and have integrity, so we won't ever outright lie, right? I will never have a title of a video that says, you know, the King of England fell off our boat, unless he does, because that would be an outright lie. But what I will do, unashamedly, sensibly, from a marketing point of view, is create titles which allude to something that happens in the video and makes it sound intriguing. Okay, and I think that's legitimately enticing new viewers to come and watch the channel, and I hope that our existing viewers, like I say, they can watch our channel because they like us, they like what we do, and they want to follow us. So hey, I thought one person says, you don't need to do that, Andy. Yeah, and I agree, I don't need to for you, because you already like us, you already follow us, and you're going to come in our shop even with the beige carpets in the window. But I do need to do it to attract new customers, and what I won't do is do it without integrity, and I won't do out and out lying. Okay, so that's the subject of thumbnails and titles. Go and watch the video at the bottom of the screen, it's really, really interesting.
Despite how much we've achieved on Ocean Melody, there's a lot of stuff that's still a work in progress. What I'm doing today is making a dinghy cradle so that we can keep our Avon dinghy on the foredeck. Now, obviously securing it down is a different matter, but it's got to sit on something. I want to elevate it high enough that it sits over the forepeak hatch, but still allows us to open the forepeak hatch a crack to allow some air in, but acts as a kind of wind scoop. And also, we've got a new dinghy coming, so I'm going to vaguely shape this, because when the new dinghy comes, I want to reshape it for the new dinghy, and then this will be rolled up and will be our spare. So watch and you'll see how my brain is working on this. It might be working different to your brain, but this is how my brain is working on it. The idea is that you can store your paddles in the dinghy cradle, and they act as part of the cradle, so that when the boat is sitting on them, the paddles are safe and stowed underneath the dinghy, and when you're obviously in the dinghy, you take the paddles out and that flat packs down and doesn't take up too much room on the deck. It might not work, it might be a crap idea. In practice we might think, wow, that was really, really clever. But in practice we might think, wow, that was really, really stupid. But either way, it is what it is. All the weight, if you notice, at the back end, because the engine is going to stay on the transom of the dinghy. I'm going to stick that on the foredeck. Now, I'm going to reshape this when I get my new dinghy. So I've only roughly cut these. I've cut the shape of the deck, and I've cut this front piece, broadly speaking, to the shape of the V on this dinghy. But we've got our new dinghy down in Chichester, so when we've made our way all the way down round Wales and round the south coast, we're picking up our new dinghy, and we're picking up a boom van, which is at my friend's house. I bought them off Facebook Marketplace, he picked them up for me, and they're at his house. So we're going down there. When we get there, we'll collect the new dinghy, and I'll recut these pieces of wood to shape to fit the new dinghy, and I'll also then cut out a large section in the middle to lighten them and to act as a grab handle and stuff like that. So, but that means there's plenty of room. The dinghy will sit quite high, but it means there's room to open the hatch under the dinghy, and I can always cut more off and lower it if I decide it's too high. So let's see what that cradle looks like on the foredeck, and then I've got to make a lifting bridle. Money, religion and politics are the three subjects that nobody really talks about. I'm not going to touch on politics or religion, but I'm going to talk a little bit about money. How are we surviving? YouTube wise, we have a little bit of income, as you know. typically on a normal month, and this is kind of a good insight for you guys to think about how much money YouTubers make, we've got 70,000 subscribers. We've got a weekly video, a weekly episode, as you know, which averages between 25 and 50,000 views, and that gets us, on a bad month, about £700. On a good month, maybe £1,100 before tax. Obviously self-employed, so you've got to declare that. And then we have our patrons who pay for extra content. They get the YouTube videos a little bit early. They get direct contact with us. They get loads of extra footage and bonus content and real-time updates. So like today, you can see we're not filming from Deganwy, and only our patrons know where we are really and how we got here and have been following the journey. So the patrons, what Patreon does is you go to the Patreon website, you pay, I think we've got $3 per episode, $3 a week, and you can cap that, so you can cap it at $3 a month, and that generates around about the same amount of income as YouTube again. So to be brutally honest, put our heart on our sleeve, on a bad month we might take home around about £1,000, and on a good month we might, if we're really lucky, take home about £1,800. So it's just about livable on for a family. In terms of other income streams, Melissa and I are always looking for data entry work. We've got Starlink on the boat, so we can work remotely. So if you've got a business that has got some data entry work or some remote work that we can do, please hit us up about it. And the other thing that we're doing is we are in the process of starting 2 new YouTube channels, at least 2 if not 3, one of which you know about, which is Melissa's new channel doing boat show rounds, which we're going to do wherever we happen to go to, and then the other one we haven't announced yet, but we're going to announce soon, because what we seem to be quite good at is making YouTube videos. So we thought, rather than throw our energy and invest our time and energy into some other business that makes some money for somebody else, let's carry on doing our business model and making YouTube videos. So we're starting other YouTube channels to support, so that no one channel has to provide all of our sole income. Hope that makes sense. It's sitting on its thing very nicely at the back, and you can see I've sort of approximated the shape of the camber of the hull, and same at the front. My first thought is the back's too high. The back needs to come down a few inches so that any water that ends up in this drains out of that drain plug. But that's okay. That's 5 minutes with a jigsaw, isn't it? I wonder if that front one, if the whole cradle needs to come forward fractionally, maybe. I had a rethink on the dinghy cradle. I've had a rethink on the dinghy cradle, and I couldn't put up with it being so high at the arse end, at the back end. So I've lowered the back one. I now feel like the front one can come down a bit. But it's that kind of thing, is that you just have to kind of cut it and look at it and think, does that look okay? Does it look rubbish? Is it too high? Is it too low? Is it the right angle? So I'm going to stop messing with it now, because I've got other stuff to go on with, and that is supporting our dinghy for the time being. And over time I'm just going to kind of look at it and mull over it and make changes to it as time goes by. But so I'm just going to fiddle with it over time, but I'm going to leave it for now because I've got other important things to get on with so that we can leave, and that's supporting the dinghy just fine for now. I just need to play with it. I'm not happy with it, but it'll do for now. Meanwhile, Melissa is sorting out our water drums. Now, we've got water tanks on the boat. We have 2 bladder tanks that currently are 150 litres each. So we've got 300 litres of water. We're going to extend that to 600 over time. But we also carry these 2 20-litre freshwater drums, which Melissa is sterilising. And the reason we carry these is because if you have a catastrophic failure of one of your bladders and it splits and you end up with all your drinking water in the bilge, you've got 40 litres of backup. So
yeah,
although
we'll probably get a few more of these.
Yeah, we probably will. So although, again, reiterating, we're not going out to sea. We're going to from here to Beaumaris. It's 2 hours and we're doing it tomorrow or the day after. It's 2 hours, and then we're on a mooring there, and then we'll probably go to another mooring and another mooring.
Yeah, we're probably not going to go we're probably not going to go to shore intentionally
No.
for the next 5-6
No.
days. So.
We probably, yeah, that's it. We probably won't go ashore for about 5 days, but we could.
Yeah.
If we had a catastrophic failure of our water system and the bladder tanks popped, which is highly unlikely. We've got 40 litres of water in drums, and that will get us, we'll go, oh damn, and go into a marina and sort the problem.
Yeah,
so
it's not the end of the world, but
no.
you know, the only reason we want to go to shore in the next sort of week is to walk on the beach.
Yeah, so this is our reserve tank basically, and if we don't drink this water, this fresh water, we'll use it for washing dishes. We won't throw it away because we don't want to waste fresh water, but we won't throw it away. What we'll do is use it for washing dishes and washing bodies, and then refill it with fresh water for drinking.
So these just haven't been used for a while, so I'm just putting some sterilising fluid in there and giving them a good clean out.
Yeah. So, as I said, it's not going to fly off the foredeck. I've got a ratchet strap over through the rowlocks for the paddles, for the oars. So the only thing that lives in the dinghy when we're travelling are the fenders. We bring the fenders up and put them in the dinghy, just gets them out of the way, and they come back out again unless we're going onto an anchoring or a mooring, anchorage or a swinging mooring, but they're coming back out again anyway. So the fenders live in there. The wheels, the fold-up wheels for the tender, and the cover for the tender. That's it. Nothing else lives in the dinghy at all. Oh, and the sail bag for. No, that doesn't go in there. So that's all ratcheted down anyway. It can't go anywhere. It can't fly anywhere, and the paddles are in it. I think once I've worked on it, I think it might be quite an elegant solution. Obviously, that timber all needs shaping and routing and carving and varnishing and making look pretty, but before I shape it and route it and carve it and varnish it and make it look pretty, I just want to make sure it's exactly the right height and the right level and fits the new dinghy. I'm going to stop harping on about it now. It's there, it works, bite me.
He's harping on about it because I think it looks ugly, and it does currently, but I appreciate that you can't cut any more wood off until you get the new dinghy. I
can't make it any lower until we've got the new dinghy and it fits the new dinghy. So it's just going to have to be what it is for now. And I'm also harping on about it because I'm not completely convinced about it myself. But it is better than having the dinghy just sat on the perspex of the forepeak hatch, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Melissa's just finishing off the netting around the pulpit, and you've got to do the aft end as well. Are you still planning to do that before we leave here?
Let's see how I get on this evening.
Something else I wanted to just talk about was the layout of Ocean Melody. So basically, up here at the bow, there's a chain locker, which is about here. In fact, it comes up to about there, and that's the anchor chain, goes in there. You can see the windlass above it. From the chain locker back to about here is the forepeak bedroom, which is the big master bedroom. After that is a hanging locker on the starboard side and the heads on the port side. After that, you can see where the mast is. That is the forward end of our saloon. So the saloon extends from the mast all the way back to about here. And at this point between these two port lights is the bulkhead which separates the saloon from the galley. So there's the galley. And galley on one side and chart table on starboard, and then we've got our cockpit, and in our cockpit we've got the kind of crawl through area which goes through under here where I've got my Victron array and all our lithium batteries, and then on the other side we've got the cockpit locker where we've got the diesel heater. We store all our warps and fenders and sails, and then beyond that we've got Jack's cabin, which will be Ollie's cabin when he moves into it. He's still sleeping in with mum at the minute because it's safer, so Jack sleeps in here, and that bedroom has got a 3/4, almost a double on port side, and then a single on starboard side, and it's got its own heads, although at the minute the heads has become a storeroom. And then after that is a large lazarette, which has got fenders and other bits and pieces in there, and we've got our jerry cans on the back there. Engine wise, people have asked why would we carry two outboards. Well, we've got the big Mercury 9.9 which will make the tender go quite quick, and if we're anchored a long way out we can put the 9.9 on and we can use it to get into shore. But on the dinghy at the moment we've just got our little 5 horsepower, which is plenty just to put around an anchorage, and the advantage of that one is it's really small, really light, so you can pick it up with one hand. The 9.9 is a bit more of a beast, It's a lot heavier to carry, but it has got a lot more power. So there you go. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope that was interesting and not too boring. We got a few boat jobs done. We answered some of your questions. Now you will notice we are no longer in Deganwy. So as of next week, you're going to see how we got to where we are now. The journey has continued and we are moving our way south. If you want to see more real-time updates, as I say, head over to Patreon, because those guys are kind of a bit more clued up on what's going on in real time. Thanks as always to our patrons for supporting us. You guys are incredible. We just love you so much. And to anybody that's donated to Coffee or PayPal or anything like that, it's really, really helpful. See you next week, guys. Bye bye.